Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2017 Chevy Camaro 1LE. Up front is a 6.2 liter V8 and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. If you'd like to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the 1LE. So let's get back to that 6.2 liter under the hood. Well, it's essentially the same engine that was in the ZL1 that I reviewed a while back, except it doesn't have a supercharger on it. Which at first you might think, oh, that means it's probably boring. I can assure you it's not boring at all. Something for the kids at home. So paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission, which feels really good. From the factory, the 1LE comes with a short throw shifter, which actually feels really good. And the clutch isn't as heavy as I thought it would be. I thought it would be this huge monster of a clutch, but it's actually pretty manageable once you get used to it. One thing I don't like about the transmission is that sometimes when you're not on the throttle, it'll force you into a different gear. Like it just forced me from first gear into fourth gear. It's a little annoying, but you get used to it, and honestly, since we are just cruising around town right now, there's no real need to, keep it in a lower gear. It actually will save fuel. So I understand why it's there. It's just the adrenaline junkie in me is annoyed. And of course, since it's a Camaro, it is rear-wheel drive, has a limited slip differential. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 actual gauges for speedometer and my tachometer, and then I have 4 digital gauges which you can switch out, which I think is super, super nice. I have a screen that's right now displaying the limited slip differential, how much wheel slip I'm actually going through, but we can flip it to tire temperature. We have trans fluid temperature, oil pressure, oil temperature, G-forces again. Like literally anything you want to know, you can know about the Camaro, which I really, really like. On the steering wheel, you have Bluetooth options for your phone, as well as cruise control. Up on the dash, there's actually a heads-up display, which right now is telling me my RPM, speed, and how many G's I'm throwing in the corners, which is really nice because you can spend more time looking at the road and just glancing down at your speed or tachometer as opposed to looking all the way down, taking your eyes off the track, and bad things could follow after that. In the center, there's a giant touchscreen display. Down below that, you get your radio options, and then you get your air conditioning options, which it's really weird. You actually use the whole vent as the air conditioning knob. I didn't really realize that at first. I just saw the 2 arrows up above it. I didn't realize that you actually turn the whole vent. I think that's kind of a cool feature. Then, of course, you have the shifter, which, like I said, is a short throw from the factory. And then you have your mode button, which is a pretty useful button when driving the 1LE. Basically, you can switch it between 4 different modes. Right now I'm in snow and ice for some odd reason. But you have track, sport, and tour. Tour is actually going to kind of nerf the car a little bit. It's going to make it kind of drive a little bit like a minivan. So we're going to keep it in track to do fun stuff like this. Now, down by the mode button, unfortunately, this car has an electronic handbrake. And honestly, I would just prefer an actual handbrake. You know, that manly, when you park somewhere, you rip it up. But this is just a button, which is fine. It works perfectly fine, but I just prefer that manly, thrust of whatever. Another really, really cool feature in the infotainment center is something called PDR. And what it'll do is it's actually a front-facing camera that'll record you at the racetrack. Not only that, it records the car's RPM, speed, all of this stuff. It records so you can actually go back and look at all your lap times, and it actually essentially data logs for you, which is so cool. And it shows like a little map of the track, which is done through GPS, and all this stuff. And so it'll then take that video footage and it actually exports it to an SD card. So if you wanted to have basically a YouTube channel of track videos or something like that, your car is essentially making the videos and doing almost all of the editing yourself, or for itself. It does it itself. You don't really have to, You don't have to edit in the throttle input or edit in the tachometer or anything. It does that all through the car. Now, this car does have back seats. All right, well, I'm back here, but I cannot say comfortably. The rear headroom isn't great, and I'm 5'10", but you know what? They work. And honestly, if you're going to use this as a track car, how often are you going to have people back here? It's not really an issue. But yeah, it's a little cramped. It's definitely a little cramped for sure. I do have cup holders though. That is nice. But the coolest feature, personally, I think, on the interior is actually on the steering wheel. Save the best for last. There are these two little buttons behind the steering wheel that says Rev Match. And what that'll do is you don't have to give it any throttle when you downshift. The car will automatically rev match for you. So I'm cruising in third right now, only using the clutch, put it in a second, it rev matches for me. I can now drive like a complete pro without actually being one. The 1LE comes with Recaro seats, which are really, really comfortable. For me, it's hard to find performance seats that I actually genuinely like. But here they are. These are actually really comfortable. They have high side bolsters, so when you're taking corners, you're not flopping around like on a church pew. But they're still comfortable, and I wouldn't hesitate to go a whole road trip sitting in these seats. Now, as you guys have been hearing, the exhaust is pretty loud. It has all of its cats deleted. But there is a quiet setting. If you go into the menus, you can actually quiet down the exhaust so your neighbors don't try to get you evicted the first month of ownership. Stealth mode. So you might be wondering, why would you want to buy a 1LE as opposed to a ZL1? Well, the 1LE is really meant for the track. It comes with a bunch of track-oriented features like a trans cooler, short throw shifter, better suspension, better brakes. It has 6 piston calipers up front and 4 piston in the rear. So this thing will definitely stop when you want it to. This is a muscle car, so visibility was not at the forefront of their design, but honestly, out of all the muscle cars I've driven, this is probably one of the easiest to see out of. It's definitely better than the Hellcat. It's better than the older Camaro that I reviewed. And so it's actually a car that you can daily. There's not massive blind spots. There are blind spots, sure, but you're not going to miss a Winnebago in one of your blind spots. The really crazy thing to me about this car is just how well it handles. To me, and I think the rest of the world, muscle cars have always handled like complete garbage. They're fun in a straight line, they're fun on the drag strip, but you know, if a corner comes up, most muscle cars are screwed. That's definitely not the case for the 1LE. Now, some of the aero on the outside of this car has been added, but it actually does come with factory functional aero, which looks pretty good, and the black hood I think really looks good as well. One interesting thing, speaking of the factory, is I found out that Chevy actually will warranty cars that are tracked. As long as you keep it stock, as long as you're not modifying the actual crap out of it, Chevy will actually keep your warranty if you take the car on the track. Most other companies will void your warranty at the drop of a hat. So I think that that's so cool to me, that Chevy actually backs up their product so much that they say, yeah, take it on a racetrack, we still got your back. That's so cool to me, and I haven't heard of any other manufacturer doing that. Now, like I said, this car is made for the track, and luckily the owner, Mike, actually does track this car. I have some footage of it on the track, and it sets down really impressive lap times. I'm sure that's partially because of the driver, but this thing actually can handle itself on the track, which a Camaro track car to me is just still such a foreign idea. But this is it, and it's so fun. Getting on the throttle in this thing is just, it's intoxicating. I don't know how else to say it. I've never experimented with drugs in my life, but I really don't feel the need to after this. So if this is where muscle cars are going, I'm a big fan of muscle cars. That was always my gripe, is I always thought like, oh, a car that can only perform in a straight line, that's stupid. And yeah, cars of 10, 15 years ago, that's what they were good at. But now, Chevy actually learned what a corner is, And so now, like, these cars actually perform really well. And so they're giving the imports a run for their money on tracks. So if you're looking for a car for the track, this would be my go-to pick. As of right now, I would definitely, if I were looking for a track car, this is something I would definitely look into. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 2017 Chevy Camaro 1LE. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.